Right. Good morning, students. So, in previous classes, Sir has explained regarding P block elements 15, 16, 17, and 18 group elements. Now, in today's class, I'm going to explain the first chapter, the solid state. So, the chapter, the solid state, I'm going to start. So, from this chapter, we can get 7 marks. One 5 marks question and one 2 marks question. So in this chapter, there are some concepts. Some concepts are there from which the compulsory question given for 5 marks. A 5 marks question in this chapter is fixed. Class so 5 marks question is fixed in this chapter. So it's nothing but there are calculation of packing efficiency, and that they will give for 3 marks. There are 3 packing efficiencies are there. From that one they will give for 3 marks, and one more 2 marks question for the same. They will ask calculation of density of crystal lattice. Otherwise, calculation of number. అర్థం కాదు చెప్తే so calculation of number of particles, otherwise calculation of density of the crystal lattice, that they will ask for 3 marks question. So total 5 marks question. In physical part, first 5 marks question they will ask from solid state chapter only. In that the 5 marks question they will ask compulsory from these 2 topics only. One is calculation of number of particles or density problem for 2 marks, and calculation of packing efficiency of the crystal lattice, that is for 3 marks. A 5 marks question is fixed from this chapter. Whatever the whoever set the question paper, this 5 marks question given compulsory from these 2 parts only. And from the total remaining chapter you can get one more 2 marks question. So this is the way of asking questions from this chapter. 5 plus 2, 7 marks. Okay, right. So in first PUC we learn about states of matter: solid state, liquid state, and gaseous state. So there you learn about gases and liquids, and some properties about the liquid state. Okay, right. Now let us see what is the basic difference between solids, liquids, and gases. So if you take gases have neither shape nor volume, whereas liquids have definite volume but have no shape. But solids possess a definite shape as well as definite volume. So in this chapter we'll discuss regarding solids. What about constant particles of solids? What is the packing of the means how the constant particles are packed in the crystal lattice? All those we'll discuss. Let us say before going further, see, most of the materials which are present around us are solids only, except air. Except air, what is present? Most of the things which is present around us are nothing but solids. And so these solids are having some specific characteristic properties. See what we are using things in our daily life. Most of them are solids only. Okay, right. Then what are the characteristic properties of solids? See, the characteristic properties of solids are nothing but solids have definite shape and volume. Solids have different shape and volume. Why solids are having different shape and volume? See, in solids, whatever the constituent particles are there, that is either atoms or ions or molecules. These are the constituent particles of solid. Atoms or ions or molecules. These constituent particles are closely packed. Since the constituent particles are closely packed, solids possess a different shape and they possess different volume. And second one is intermolecular space. Is very less. So intermolecular space is very less in case of solids. That is, in solids, the constant particles are very closely packed. The third one is intermolecular forces are high. So in case of solids, the intermolecular forces are high and intermolecular space is less. Because of these two, because of very small gap between the constant particles and because of strong intermolecular attractive forces in solids, the constant particles are very closely packed. That's why they possess different shape and different volume. Next, solids are rigid and incompressible. Solids are rigid and incompressible. So in solids, the constant particles are closely packed. That's why they are rigid. Intermolecular space is very less. That's why they are incompressible in nature. So solids are rigid and incompressible. Next. So in solids, the constituent particles in solids, the constituent particles are not free to move. The constituent particles are not free to move, but can oscillate about their mean position. There is no freedom of movement for the constant particles. In solids, the constant particles cannot move freely, but the constant particles can oscillate about their mean position. They can oscillate about their mean position, but they cannot move freely from one place to another place. And diffuses very slowly, means almost negligible. Solids cannot diffuse readily. Solids can diffuse very slowly. So these are some characteristic properties of solids. See, which diffuses, which can flow, means solids cannot flow readily, but liquids and gases can flow easily. That is why gases and liquids are commonly called as fluids. They have fluid property, whereas the fluid property of solids is almost negligible. So these are some characteristic properties of solids. See once again, in solids they have definite shape and definite volume. The intermolecular space is very less in case of solids. Intermolecular forces are high. Since intermolecular space is less and intermolecular forces are strong, solids are rigid and they are incompressible in nature. Next, in solids, the constituent particles cannot move freely. There is no freedom of movement for constituent particles. But the constituent particle can oscillate about their mean position. With respect to their mean position, they can oscillate, but they cannot move freely. Diffusion. The rate of diffusion of solids is very less or almost negligible. Whereas these gases and liquids are having a high rate of diffusion, they can flow easily. That's why they are considered as fluids. Gases and liquids are considered as fluids. This is regarding some characteristic properties of solids. Now let us see. Again, these solids are further classified into two types. Now we will go for a classification of solids. What about classification of solids? See, let us see here. Depending on the arrangement of the particles, the solids are further classified into two types. One is crystalline solids. The second type is amorphous solids. Crystalline solids and amorphous solids. So depending on the arrangement of the constituent particles present in the solid, the solids are further classified into two types. They are crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Then what are crystalline solids? What are amorphous solids? So for example, if you take silica, SiO2, if it is heated strongly into fused state, and if the fused silica is allowed to crystallize slowly, then we can get a regular arrangement of the constituent particles. Whereas the same silica is allowed to cool rapidly, then we can get an irregular arrangement of the constituent particles. For example, like this. If it is allowed to cool slowly, then we can get the regular arrangement. So if observe here, the constituent particles are arranged in a hexagonal geometry like this. Like this. So this is a regular arrangement of the constituent particles. So if you take any part of this arrangement, always you can get a hexagonal geometry like this. This is nothing but called a regular arrangement of the constituent particles. In case of crystalline solids, the constituent particles are arranged in a definite order. That is, they possess definite geometric shape. The same silica is allowed to crystallize, then it may crystallize like this, without having some regular geometry. Like this it may get. So this is irregular arrangement. Here in the ring 6 particles are there. Here in the ring also 6 particles are there. Here 6 is there, but they cannot possess regular geometries here. Or you can take like this directly. So this is there is no particular arrangement of the particles in the crystal lattice. So this type of arrangement is nothing but called as irregular geometry. So which are nothing but amorphous solids. See what the basic difference between crystalline solids and amorphous solids are. In crystalline solids, whatever the constituent particles are there, either atoms or ions or molecules, they are arranged in a definite geometric shape. Those are called as crystalline solids. Let us see one more example. I'll show you. Now let us see. So this is an cubic arrangement. Here the particles are present. These are the constant particles of the lattice. See, if you observe here, so here the particles are arranged in a particular order. So here the particles are arranged in the shape of a cube. This is a combination of 8 cubes. So if you take any part, that part consists of the same type of arrangement of the particle. Means the constituent particles in the lattice are arranged in a definite order with a definite geometric shape. This is nothing but arrangement of the particles in crystalline solids. So in a crystalline solid, the constituent particles are arranged in a definite geometric shape. Whereas in case of amorphous solids, there is no regular arrangement of the constituent particles. They are arranged randomly with irregular shapes. Those are amorphous solids. Let us see some examples for crystalline solids. Nothing but sucrose. Sucrose is a crystalline solid. NaCl, sodium chloride. Dry ice. Dry ice is nothing but a solid CO2. Solid carbon dioxide is known as dry ice. So these are some examples of crystalline solids. What are the salts we are using in our laboratory? All are almost except carbonate salts. Except carbonate salts, the remaining most of the salts we are using in our laboratory are nothing but crystalline solids. Urea, crystalline solid. Polyurethane, naphthalene. So these are some examples for crystalline solids. Then what are amorphous solids? Glass. Glass is an amorphous solid. Plastic. Plastic is an amorphous solid. Wood. Wood is an amorphous solid. Okay, so they're in a solid state, but in these cases, the constituent particles are not arranged regularly. They are arranged irregularly. And one more here. So glass is nothing but considered is not a solid actually. Glass is not a true solid. Glass is a supercooled liquid. Simply called as a pseudo solid. Glass is not a true solid. It is a supercooled liquid actually it is. Supercooled liquid is nothing but glass. See for that I'll give an example for this. See if you observe the glass panels of the old buildings. If you observe the glass panels of the old buildings and if you measure the thickness of the glass panel at the top and at the bottom. At the bottom, the thickness will be slightly more than at the top of the glass panel. Why the thickness of the glass panel is more at the bottom than at the top? The reason is that, so when the glass is allowed to stand for a long time, the glass flows down slowly. That means the glass is a fluid property. It flows down slowly after a long time. Then the thickness at the top will be decreased and thickness at the bottom will be slightly increased. So that means glass is not a true solid, it is having a fluid property. It flows down. So that's why glass is considered as supercooled liquid, not a solid. And see, with our naked eyes, we cannot differentiate whether given is crystalline or amorphous. Okay, so this amorphous solid or crystalline solid we can differentiate by knowing the arrangement of the constituent particles only. With our naked eyes, we can't say whether it is a crystalline solid or a amorphous solid. So don't think that if the given substance is hard and brittle, it is crystalline. If it is smooth, amorphous, not like that. Not theoretically. Theoretically, we can't say whether given is amorphous solid or crystalline solid. One more example, charcoal. Charcoal is nothing but a amorphous solid. Whereas if you take a diamond and graphite, see all these three are allotropes of carbon only. Diamond, graphite, charcoal, all these are allotropes of carbon, means different forms of carbon. But among these, charcoal is amorphous solid, whereas the diamond and graphite are crystalline solids. Why? Because in diamond and graphite, the constituent particles are arranged in a definite geometric shape. Regular arrangement of the particles will be there. Whereas in case of charcoal, there is no regular arrangement of the constituent particles. The particles are arranged irregularly. There is no definite geometric shape of arrangement of particles. That's why it is amorphous solid. So overall, solids are classified based on the arrangement of the constituent particles. If the constituent particles are arranged in a definite geometric shape, they are considered as crystalline solids. If constituent particles are not arranged in a definite geometric shape, that is amorphous solid. See, not shape, geometric shape. Geometric shape means nothing but arrangement of the particles, which are not visible to our naked eyes. So by the appearance, for example, I take this duster, almost it is in the shape of rectangle shape. So this is not the geometric shape. The same we can convert into square shape or a circular or any other sphere shape or any other shape. Geometrical arrangement of the constituent particles. So shape of the arrangement of particle, not the shape of the substance. Okay. So that arrangement of the particles are not visible to our naked eyes. The geometrical shape of particles, that means the arrangement of the particles can be studied by X-ray diffraction techniques and by using some other techniques. They are not visible to our eyes. Okay. So physical shape is not the arrangement of the particles. Okay. Right. So this is regarding classification of solids, crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Now let us see what the difference between the crystalline solids and amorphous solids we'll discuss. Property, crystalline solids, amorphous solids. Shape. Shape means this is geometric shape. So crystalline solids have a definite geometric shape. Crystalline solids are having a definite geometric shape, whereas amorphous solids are having irregular shapes. So crystalline solids are having definite geometric shape, whereas amorphous solids are having irregular shapes. This is the first difference. And second one, order of arrangement of particles. Order of arrangement of the constituent particles. See, crystalline solids are having a long range orders. Whereas amorphous solids are having a short range orders. So this is a long range orders and short range orders. See, in crystalline solids, the constituent particles are arranged in a particular order or a long distance throughout the lattice, throughout the crystal, throughout the substance. The constituent particles are arranged in the same order. There is no deviation. But in case of amorphous solids, after arrangement of some particles, again the arrangement changes. Again arrangement changes. Means for a short distance only, the particles are arranged in a particular order. So in crystalline solids, the constituent particles are arranged in a definite geometric shape over a long distance. That is, throughout the crystal, the particles are arranged in a particular order. Whereas in case of amorphous solids, the constituent particles are arranged for a very short distance in a particular order. Okay, right. Next, cleavage property. So what is this cleavage property? Cleavage property means if you take a crystalline solid, if you cut the crystalline solid with a sharp tool, and if you divide the substance into two pieces, then we can get the new substance is having a sharp, plain and smooth surfaces. So when cut with a sharp edge, the new planes are means the new planes formed. The new planes formed are sharp. The new surfaces formed are plain and smooth. That means, suppose this is a crystalline solid. If you cut it a sharp edge into two pieces, then here we can get a new surface like this. If you cut that into two pieces, what the new plane formed here? Two new planes are formed when cut with a sharp edge. Then what the two planes formed here are smooth, they are plain and smooth surfaces are there. Okay, for example, let us take this chalk piece. This is an amorphous solid. So if break this chalk piece into two pieces, what the new plane formed here and here, two new planes are formed here. What the two new planes formed here, these are not smooth, not plain. The same, if you take a metal, if you cut a metal with a sharp tool, then what the new plane formed, that is plain and smooth, will not get rough surface. With a sharp tool, if you cut a crystalline solid. So when cut with a sharp edge, what the new planes formed here, the new planes are plain and smooth in case of crystalline solids. In case of amorphous solids, These does not undergo a clear cleavage. Amorphous solids does not undergo clear cleavage. Clear cleavage, smooth plane means not visible to our eyes. For example, you take a glass piece, break the glass piece. What the new surface has formed, that is very sharp. If you touch with your finger, it appears as a smooth, but that is not a smooth and plain surface. The atoms, whatever the constituent particles in glass is there, they are not breakdown in a particular order. For example, this is an amorphous solid. If you cut with a sharp edge, then we can get a surface like this, a corrugative surface. It look like a smooth, but the arrangement is not regular. Regular arrangement of the particles will not present here. The surface is not smooth and it is not having a plain surface. Okay, little bit corrugation will be there. So crystalline solids undergo clear cleavage when cut with a sharp edge, whereas amorphous solids does not undergo clear cleavage when cut with a sharp edge. This is third property. Next, melting point. What is melting point? The temperature at which a solid and liquid state exist in equilibrium. That means at particular temperature, solid is converted to liquid, and both liquid and solid will exist in equilibrium. In a simple way, we can say that the temperature at which solid is converted to liquid, in a simple way. Right. So in case of crystalline solids, this crystalline solids possess sharp melting points. Crystalline solids possess sharp melting points, whereas amorphous solids does not possess sharp melting points. These does not possess sharp melting points. Okay, example, take ice. So ice will melt at exactly 0 degrees Celsius. If temperature is less than 0, ice will not melt. So ice melts exactly at 0 degrees Celsius. That is the melting point of ice. Now take a glass piece and heat it, or take a plastic sheet or a plastic rod and heat it. On heating glass or plastic, the glass or plastic converted to liquid state slowly. Means slowly it convert from a solid state to liquid state. That means there is no sharp melting point. They are having a range of melting point. That means in between particular temperatures, they convert slowly from solid state to liquid state. It will not melt sharply. So if you take a glass piece and if you heat the glass and we can bend the glass in any required shape, it will not melt immediately. Slowly it becomes soft. From hard state to soft state, slowly it will convert. So it is having over a range of melting point, not exactly the sharp melting point. In case of crystalline solids, at a particular temperature, by absorbing a definite amount of heat, they convert, means they can overcome the attractive forces and convert from solid state to liquid state. So crystalline solids are having sharp melting points, whereas amorphous solids are not having sharp melting points. They possess a range of melting points. Right. Next one. Heat of fusion. So heat of fusion. What is meant by heat of fusion? See the amount of heat energy required to convert 1 mole of solid substance into liquid. The amount of heat energy required to convert 1 mole of solid into liquid, that is called as heat of fusion, also called as enthalpy of fusion. So these crystalline solids possess a definite definite enthalpy of fusion. Crystalline solids possess a definite enthalpy of fusion, whereas amorphous solids does not have definite value. So crystalline solids are having definite enthalpy of fusion, means crystalline solids, by absorbing certain amount of heat, they convert from solid state to liquid state. But in case of amorphous solids, by absorbing certain amount of heat exactly, they cannot convert from solid state to liquid state, because here they are having a range of melting point. They are not having sharp melting points. So over a range of heat energy, they can absorb and they can convert from solid state to liquid state slowly. There is no definite heat of fusion. Next, one more, anisotropy. This is an important property here. Anisotropy and isotropy. So what is meant by anisotropy and what is meant by isotropy? Let us see here. I will take a crystalline solid here. Let us assume this is the arrangement of the constituent particles. This is the arrangement of the constituent particles in a crystalline solid. These are one type of particles. Let us assume these are another type of particles. This is a crystalline solid. So shaded and unshaded particles are two different types of particles. Then, see, if we measure the physical properties of crystalline solid, if we measure the physical properties of crystalline solids, such as refractive index, such as electrical conductivity, so the physical properties of crystalline solids are different in different directions. So electrical conductivity, refractive index, if you measure for this crystalline solid in different directions, in different angles, you can get different values. Why? Because let us see here, in this direction I will measure. In this direction, I am having only one type of particles, which are shaded particles. In another direction, in this direction I will take. So in this direction, here I am having other type of particles, only one type of particles here also. In one more direction I will take here. Now here, in this direction, both type of particles are present in alternate manner. That means, in case of crystalline solids, the composition of the crystal lattice is different in different directions. Suppose, let us assume these are particles A, these are particles B. Now in this direction, only particles of A is there. In this direction, only particles of B is there. In this direction, particles of A as well as particles of B both are present alternatively. Means, in a crystalline solid, the constituent particles are arranged in a definite geometric shape, but in different directions, the arrangement of the particles is different. And suppose if the lattice contains only one type of particles, then in different directions, the distance between the particles is also different. For example, if a lattice contains 8 lattice points like this here now. Yeah. So these are 8 lattice points. If I join these, I can get a shape like this, a cubic shape I can get here now. This is. Now, if I measure the property in this direction, from this point to this point, let us assume the distance is A. If I measure the same property in this direction, now from this point to this point, the distance will be root 2A. Sorry, root 3A this is. The distance between the two particles is root 3A. Here the distance between the two particles is A. Even same particles are present, but the distance between the particles is different in different directions. In this direction, the distance between the particles will be A. Then in this direction, the distance between the two particles is root 3A. So even the same particles are present in different directions, The distance between the particles is different. That means the composition is different in different directions. So if you measure electrical properties in this direction as well as in this direction, it is different even though same particles are present. Here, in different directions, different proper particles are there. Different type of particles is there. So in different directions, the physical properties are different in case of crystalline solids. This phenomenon is nothing but known as anisotropy. Same. Isotropy, same property in different directions. Anisotropic. So anisotropy means there is nothing but anisotropy. Means not having similar properties in different directions. Overall, in case of crystalline solids, the constant particles in different directions is different. That means the composition of crystalline solids in different directions is different. That's why crystalline solids possess different physical properties in different directions, like refractive index, melting points, sorry, not melting point, refractive index, electrical conductivity, like this. This phenomenon is known as anisotropy. Means crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature. Crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature, whereas the amorphous solids are isotropic in nature. Crystalline solids are anisotropic, whereas amorphous solids are isotropic. And last one, what about nature of solids? Say crystalline solids are true solids. Crystalline solids are true solids, whereas amorphous solids are considered as pseudo solids. Pseudo solids are, some are called supercooled liquids, not all. Supercooled liquids. So these are the differences between crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Okay, right. Let us see once briefly. See, what are crystalline solids? See, the solid substances in which the constant particles are arranged in a definite geometric shape are called crystalline solids. The solids in which the constant particles are not arranged in a definite geometric shape are called amorphous solids. This is the first difference. Crystalline solids have definite geometric shape, whereas amorphous solids are having irregular shapes. Next, second one, order of arrangement of particles. In case of crystalline solids, the constant particles are arranged in a regular geometry over a long distance. That means these possess long range orders, whereas in amorphous solids possess short range orders. That is, the constant particles are arranged over a short distance in a particular order. Cleavage property. Crystalline solids, when cut with a sharp edge, it splits into two parts, and the two new surfaces what are formed are plane and smooth. Means crystalline solids undergo cleavage and forms two surfaces which are plane and smooth. In case of amorphous solid, the amorphous solid does not undergo clear cleavage, it undergo irregular cleavage. Melting point. So crystalline solids possess sharp melting points, whereas amorphous solids does not possess sharp melting points, they possess a range of melting points. Why crystalline solids possess sharp melting points? Because in crystalline solids, the constant particles are arranged in a definite geometric shape. They are held together by some strong attractive forces. By absorbing certain amount of heat, they overcome the attractive forces and convert into liquid state. Whereas in case of amorphous solids, The particles are arranged irregularly, and these amorphous solids are converted from solid state to liquid state slowly. Means they possess a range of melting points. Next, heat of fusion. Crystalline solids have definite heat of fusion or definite enthalpy of fusion, whereas amorphous solids are not having a definite heat of fusion. Anisotropy. In crystalline solids, the composition in different directions is different. That's why crystalline solids possess different values for physical properties such as refractive index and electrical conductivity in different directions. This property is known as anisotropy. Whereas in case of amorphous solids, there is no regular arrangement of the constant particles, but on an average, in all directions, the composition is nearly same. In amorphous solids, the composition of the particles is nearly same in all directions. That's why in all directions they possess the same values for different physical properties. That's why amorphous solids are isotropic in nature. Next, what about the nature of the solid? Say crystalline solids are true solids, whereas amorphous solids are pseudo solids or super cold liquids. Just earlier I told you why these are called as pseudo solids or super cold liquids, because some amorphous solids are having fluid properties. That's why they are considered as pseudo solids or super cold liquids. Okay, and one more example I'll tell you. See, if you observe the glass panels of old buildings, they are somewhat milky in nature, means not a transparent. Some turbidity appearance will be there, some milky appearance will be there. Why? Because in that glass, some amount of some extent of crystallization takes place. Actually, they are not crystalline solids; they are super cold liquids. But due to some extent of crystallization, that glass panels appears as milky. The milky appearance of glass panels is due to some extent of crystallization. Okay. So crystalline solids are hard and brittle. As some are hard, crystalline solids are hard, some are brittle, some are not brittle. These are hard and these are incompressible. Because in crystalline solids, the constant particles are closely packed. As the particles will not move freely, they are hard, they are rigid. Okay, this is regarding types of solids, crystalline solids and amorphous solids. Then again, this crystalline solids are further classified. So again, the crystalline solids are further classified depending on the constituent particles and the forces present between the constituent particles. As we discussed, what are the constituent particles of solids? Either atoms or ions or molecules. And what type of forces will present between these particles? Maybe van der Waals forces, maybe hydrogen bonds, or maybe covalent bonds. So depending on the nature of the constituent particles and depending on the forces, that is the binding forces, again crystalline solids are further classified. Crystalline solids. Again, these crystalline solids are further classified into molecular solids. Ionic solids, metallic solids, and the fourth one is covalent solids. molecular solids, ionic solids, metallic solids, and covalent solids. These are also called as network solids. Molecular solids, ionic solids, metallic solids, covalent or network. Again, these molecular solids are further classified into three types. Non-polar molecular solids. The second one is polar molecular solids. And third one is hydrogen bonded molecular solids. This is total classification of crystalline solids. So crystalline solids are further classified into different types depending on the constituent particles and the binding forces between the constituent particles. Molecular solids, ionic solids, metallic solids, covalent or network solids. Again, these molecular solids are further classified into three types: non-polar molecular solids, polar molecular solids, hydrogen bonded molecular solids. So what are the constituent particles? What are the binding forces? What about the nature of these particles? In tomorrow class we will continue. Okay.